I'm going to show you how I like to pipe a cosmos flower. It's got 8 large petals and this little centre that's full of stamen, full of detail. It's a really pretty one to add to your bouquets. I'm going to use this number 0 piping tip to mark out the centre. It measures about 1 centimetre across and it's just the perfect size to mark out a small centre so that you can use that as a guide. And I've got a cocktail stick here that I'm going to use to mark out where I want my petals to be. You could use just the end of a knife for that. Now the piping tips I'm using to make a rim around the edge of the cupcake. You want a nice flat cupcake for this flower. I'm going to use this small teardrop shape tip. This is a 102. You could use a 103 or 101. But by using this teardrop shape, you can create a lip around the cupcake that's coming down at an angle. For the petals, I'm using a 124K. It's just this long, thin piping tip. So there isn't a fat end or a thin end, but it does have a longer end, which is going to be the bottom of the piping tip. The short end at the top is always what's going to create the edges of the petals. For the centre and some leaf details, I've got some olive green here with a number 4 round piping tip. And for the centres, I've got these tiny little round piping tips. These are a size 1, and this is why it's a really good idea to sift your icing sugar, because you don't want these getting clogged up. So I've got some bright yellow and some dark brown. So take up your cupcake and you want to give it a crumb coat in the colour of the petals that you're using. Take up the 102 piping tip and we're going to use this fat end on the outside. So normally that would be the base of your petals, but I'm going to turn it round and use that fat end to create a lip. So push all the buttercream down to the bottom. Remember, you don't want too much in your bag. And angle the tip so the fat end is on the outside. And I'm going to pipe all the way round the edge of the cupcake. So turn your wrist a little bit so you can sweep around a little bit more. And just follow the line of the cupcake case. Go around the whole cake. When you come to the point where you need to stop piping, you just gently stop and come off, turn the cake, and carry on where you left off. And just keep going until you've gone all the way around the cake. And then I'm going to do one more layer so that they're standing up a little bit more. This gives the petal edges a little bit of a rim to stand up on. It just gives them a better shape. And the flower has a bit more detail to it. And now that I've created that lip, I'm going to mark out the centre with the base of that 0 piping tip. So I'm just going to eyeball the cake, place the piping tip in the middle. Make sure you like it central. And there's your middle. Now I'm going to take the cocktail stick, or you could use the knife if that's what you've got. And I'm going to mark out 8 little lines here. Because the cosmos flower's got 8 petals, I want to evenly space them, so it's just really easy just to mark them out like this. And I'm going to come in the middle of each one here. And then you've got evenly spaced petals that are all the same size. So you've got your guide in the middle and your guides where your petals are going to go. So each one of these will be the centre of a petal. Take up the 124K, push all the buttercream down to the bottom, give your bag a twist so it's nice and tight. I think I'll twist that a little bit more. There we go. Remember, you want the long end of the piping tip at the bottom, and then I'm going to pipe each petal from that center guide. So we're going to make that little line our center. I'm going to start each petal and end each petal in the same place. So holding the tip upright, pipe up, give a little jiggle and come back down. Now I'm going to miss one out and go to the next one. So starting at the center, come up, give a little jiggle, come down to that same point. Again, leave a gap, come up from the center, give a little jiggle and come back down. Come up, little jiggle, back to that starting point and off. And then I'm going to fill in these gaps, doing exactly the same thing. I do it this way as I just find each petal's got a bit more definition if I leave a gap. It helps me to space them out a bit more evenly. So start at that point, come up and jiggle, back down to that point. Now I'm going to go around and put another row on. So just go over the top of each petal. And again, I miss one out and do the one after it. So I'm doing every other petal. Come up, give a little jiggle and back down. When you get down to that starting point, you just stop piping and come off. Stop piping, come off. You get a nice clean finish if you make a definite stop when you're piping before you come off. And that's 2 rows of each petal. If you love buttercream, you can put another row on top. Now I'm going to take up the number 4 round. I've used a number 4 round piping tip because it's handy to do the center and the leaves, and I haven't got to load up another bag. So push all your buttercream down to the bottom and make sure your bag is nice and tight. And then I'm going to place the piping tip right in the center here and just squeeze out a amount of buttercream until I've filled that gap. So I'm coming right straight down in the middle and just squeeze the buttercream till you've filled that gap, and then stop squeezing and come off. You've made like a little button in the middle. And then take up your yellow with your number 1 round piping tip. You don't want too much in your bag for this, you want full control over it. Make sure your bag's nice and tight. And then touch down on the center of that green and pipe out some really tiny little yellow dots in the center. This is a very small squeeze and I'm not moving the piping tip at all. If you find it hard to hold the cake and pipe these, you can lay it down on the table and steady your hand with your other hand like this. That gives you a little bit more control over your wrist if you find that it's a little bit shaky. So now I've filled in that center, I'm going to come round and make tiny little spikes. So I'm just touching down, and instead of doing a tiny little dot, I'm lifting up a little bit as I lift. So you're making really small stamen. And I'm starting off these ones as really quite short. Keep turning the cupcake. And then as I go around and do the next row underneath them, I'm making them a little bit longer. And then the row under that will be a little bit longer again. So you're gradually getting longer as you get to the base of that green center. So you're building up the stamens around the edge. And keep turning the cupcake so that your piping hand stays in the same place. I'm coming right to the bottom of that green centre, but the stamens I'm making are pointing upwards. I'm not coming outwards over the petals. I'm keeping the stamen coming upright. There's quite a few of them as you get to that outside edge. So as you keep going around, when you're happy you've covered up that centre and it's nice and round looking, you can come off with the yellow and then take up your dark brown. And again, I've got that number 1 round piping tip. If you haven't got one of those, you could just snip off a really tiny amount of the end of a piping bag. So push all the buttercream down to the bottom and make sure your bag is nice and tight. And then I'm just going to put some random brown ones in amongst the yellow. So just touch down, squeeze and lift. And I'll make these ones just a tiny bit longer. So leave lots of gaps. You don't want to put too many of these in. It's just for a bit of contrast. It makes the centres really pop. So just touch down in between those yellow stamen. Pop a brown one in here and there. Keep going all the way round. Oh, if you get a straggler like that, oh, come off. Just wipe it off on a piece of paper towel and then carry on. That just happens when the buttercream hasn't quite stuck to the buttercream you're trying to pipe it on. So when you've added a few random brown stamen, I'm just going to use this one number 4 round to pipe a few little spiky leaves in between each petal. It will give them a bit more definition and it will just cover up that gap where you can see the rim that we piped. So in between each petal, I'm just going to touch down on that buttercream and pipe out a few little spiky leaves. You don't need many, it's just to fill that gap. So just touch down, squeeze and pull out, stop squeezing and come off. Adds a bit more detail and a bit more colour. And just pop in as many as you need to fill in the gap. You might only need 2 on some of them and 4 on others. Doesn't matter how many, you're just making it look like it's all covered up. And there you go, that's how I pipe a really pretty cosmos flower.